Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to look at Route 53, latency-based routing. So what is latency-based routing? Well, it allows you to route your traffic based on the lowest network latency for your end user. And this simply means the region that's going to give them the fastest response times. Now, to use latency-based routing, you create a latency resource record set for either your EC2 instance or your ELB resource in each region that hosts your website. And when Amazon Route 53 receives a query for your site, it's basically going to select the latency resource record set for the region that gives the user the lowest latency. Route 53 then responds with the value associated with that resource record set. So let's have a look at how this works. So we've got our South African user and they want to go to our website, route53gurus.com or hello-route53gurus.com. They get a 54 millisecond latency from EU West 2, and they get a 300 millisecond latency from Asia Pacific Southeast 2. So which one would Route 53 choose? Well, it's going to choose the 54 millisecond one. So Route 53 will send the traffic to EU West 1 because it has a much lower latency than AP Southeast 2. So let's go into the AWS console and see how we can set this up. Okay, so here I am in the AWS console. I'm going to go over to services and I'm going to go down to networking and click on Route 53. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my hosted zones. And in here we've got Hello Route 53 Gurus. We've got all our weighted routes from the last lab. And if I actually go in and create a record set, I'm just going to leave this as blank. I'm going to make up an IP address, but it needs to be a valid IP address. And then I'm going to change this over to, let's say, latency. And in here, I can select a region. So let's say I want US West 1, and I just want to say California, something like that, California. If I go ahead and hit create, it's not going to work. That's because we've already got these records in here, these A record sets, which is for weighted base routing. So you need to, if you're going to, you basically have to choose a routing policy for your A records. You can't mix and match. So you can't have latency with weighted, etc. There are a few exceptions to that, which we'll cover on later. But for right now, we can't create this. So let's go through and delete the ones that are no longer relevant. So it's these four here. I'm going to delete our record sets and hit confirm. And that has now deleted our records. I'm going to create a new record. We're going to leave it as the zone apex or naked domain. So we're just leaving this blank. There's no www there. I'm going to change my TTL down to 60 seconds. And I'm going to just go and grab my first IP address. So I'm just logging into the EC2 console and I'm just going to copy it in here. If you click this little icon, might be a bit hard to see, but if you click this icon, that will automatically copy it to your clipboard. And so I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to change this routing policy to not failover, to latency. And in latency, it's already specified which region this is in. So it's in US East 1. And I'm going to call this Northern Virginia. And this is, I'm call it Web 1 and 2. Web 1 and 2, maybe something like that. And then I'm actually going to add in a second IP address. So I'm just going to grab the other IP address. So it was this one here. Again, I'm going to click this little copy to clipboard and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here. So I've got my two IP addresses. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to associate this with a health check. We'll do that later on. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. So these are my Northern Virginia, my US East 1 records. Let's go ahead and create a record set for the other two. So I'm just going to go back over to EC2. I'm going to change over to Sydney to grab my Sydney IP address and let that load up. And then what we're going to do is once we've got the Sydney IP address, we're going to create a record set for that. So just go in here and copy this to my clipboard, paste it in here, change this to 1 minute. I'm going to do latency-based routing. Straight away, it's saying Asia Pacific Southeast 2. And I'm just going to call this Sydney Web Servers and go ahead and hit create. And we'll create one more record set. This one I'm going to do, again, 30 seconds. I'm going to need our IP address from Sao Paulo. Everyone in the office keeps teasing me the way I pronounce that. Sorry for any South Americans out there. And I'm just going to go in here and copy this IP address and paste it in here. So now we've got the four different IP addresses across 3 record sets. Going to make this latency based routing. I'm just going to call it South America Web Server. And I'm going to go ahead and hit create. So right now I am in London. So in theory, I think that the lowest latency would be hitting Northern Virginia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to hello-route53gurus.com. So open up a new tab. And in here, I'm just going to type hello-route53gurus.com. And there you go. I'm hitting web server 1 in Northern Virginia. Now, what we can do is I've got a VPN client over here. And this VPN client will allow me to connect in anywhere in the world, relatively speaking. So let's go ahead and connect into Brazil. So I'm going to go ahead and connect into Brazil. And let's just says connecting. There we go, connected to Brazil. If I refresh this, let's see if this is going to work straight away. It may have already cached my... No, there you go, Sao Paulo. So web server 1, Sao Paulo. Hopefully you can see that. So straight away, because I was connecting in from Brazil, it's basically redirected me to Sao Paulo because that is my closest resource. Let's go and change to Australia. So I'm going to connect in via Australia. So this is now disconnected from Brazil. NordVPN is a great VPN service, by the way. And I'm now connected into Australia, and I'm going to do a hard refresh on this page. You can see down here it says resolving host, and it has now changed to web server 1 Sydney. So my latency-based routing is working fantastically. It's connecting me into Northern Virginia, it's connecting me into into Brazil, and then it's also connecting me into Australia. So onto my exam tips. Just remember what latency-based routing is. So you've got your South African user, they're connecting into a web address which is hosted by Route 53. So it could be hello-route53gurus.com. That gives us two potential connections, one over to EU West 2, which is 54 milliseconds, one over to AP Southeast 2, so into Sydney, which is 300 milliseconds. And of course, in this example, Route 53 is going to send the traffic to EU West 2 because that is a much lower latency than AP Southeast 2. So that is it for this lecture, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.